I want to tell you a story, and it starts 2 hours from home and how I ended up in Machu Picchu. This is all about permission. Let me share more. So, I have spent years and years, like I'm sure you have, looking after children. And my oldest, being special needs, had additional challenges that made me into a very self-sacrificing type woman where I put myself last, because as soon as a child demanded your attention, you jumped. And even though I worked and brought my own income and we had, two incomes coming in at times, I still felt a challenge financially of spending money on myself. And I remember at one point the health specialists that would come and visit because of our child used to say, make sure you keep your tank full, keep your cup full. And I didn't really understand it at the time because I was so worn out. I was having a lot of challenges with my teenage daughter who had these intellectual and non-compliant type behaviours, and it just wore me out. I was exhausted all the time. I didn't realise that it is so draining on yourself when you're always on guard, when you're always hypervigilant, when you just can't rest when you're out in a public place with her, because she could get lost, she gets angry, all those types of things. And you just can't relax. You can't go to the movies, you can't go for a walk, you can't go to a restaurant. There is just nothing you can do that is enjoyable. And you're always having to think around mitigating the risks. And anyway, I put myself last. And at one point in time when she was a teenager, the hormones were in full flight and I was in fight or flight mode. And I had not one nervous breakdown, not two nervous breakdowns, but 3. Not all at once, but I knew that I had anxiety and stress, and I could start to see when they came on me. But sometimes I couldn't help them. I couldn't actually help prevent how it portrayed itself and how it arose. Anyway, the first time was a month without our oldest daughter. She had to be taken away into care to give me time to recover. And I had expectations of other family members and bigger family groups trying to support us, but it didn't happen. And those are the things that wear you down after time. But that was on me, because communication is another form of asking for help, isn't it? Anyway, over the years, I realised that I did need to put some time into myself. And so it started small, and I started to do a little bit of yoga and mobility stretching at first. I thought I was a bit weird doing yoga, picking that up, but I did enjoy it. And I was surprised at the types of people that do it, regardless of stage of your life. So I realised that I didn't have to be a certain look or age bracket to do yoga. Anyway, I did that. And then my husband went to Australia for a period of time. He decided to work over there. And that put extra stresses on at the time, but it was a blessing. in a way, because it forced us to make decisions with our oldest daughter to put her into full-time care, which came with a lot of guilt, relief, but guilt. And then I started to think about, I had all this time, what can I do? I still have other 2 children at home, but I need some me time. And up popped a advert for a yoga retreat 2 hours from home. And I thought I could manage that, 2 hours. I just have to drive there. It's not a huge expense to get there. The actual retreat itself was about $500, thereabouts, from memory. And it was in the country, so it was a nice drive. I've not sort of been in that area before, so I decided to go. I wrestled with the decision at first. 1, the price. 2, spending it on me. 3, I won't know anybody. All of that. But I put all those aside and decided to go. And I never regret it. So that 2-hour trip away for myself has now led me to going to Machu Picchu by myself. So that's hundreds of thousands of kilometres and hours in a plane. And I did that recently. So one small incremental step at first, just doing yoga at home, then a 2-hour trip away to a yoga weekend. And then I ventured further to going in the Pacific region. So I did the Cook Islands. So that pushed my retreat further, but I just love them. They fills my cup. And it's all planned and put on for. You don't have to do anything, you just have to turn up. So there's trips and the food's there and the hosts are amazing and the organisers are fantastic and it just works. So the next one I did was Bali, so that's a little bit further away from my home country, and then the next one was Vietnam. By this stage I would sometimes go with a friend and then meet my husband and then would travel around afterwards. But going to Peru, that was a bit of a push and a shove. That was on my bucket list to go to Machu Picchu. However, travelling that distance for so long, I have not done since I was 20 years old. I travelled by myself, going to the other side of the world, and I struggled with that concept at first of having to do that again now that I'm in my 60s, solo travelling. And well-intended family members thought they'd like to carry my bags. But I thought, no, you're not coming to the yoga retreat. You don't want to do that. So why come with me just for the fear of missing out? So no, I decided to go. And then I had some problems with my skeletal system before the trip for a few months with the spinal sequestered disc fragment and sciatica a few months before, which was extremely painful. And then it morphed into, because we didn't realise that I had hip problems, didn't I? So once I got referred to a surgeon, he discovered that actually it's probably more hip than spine. So yes, I've got osteoarthritis in both hips. One is worse than the other. But 3 days before I was due to go was when I saw the surgeon. So I decided to still go. But I thought I would mitigate the risks by asking for disability assistance on the way, which was great because once I got to Lima, I didn't know how my body was going to flare up on a long plane ride. So once I got to Lima, I had the wheelchair access, which was great, and got me out the other side. And I had a walking stick with me, and there was only one time in the 3 weeks that I actually was unprepared in one of the ruins where I didn't have enough support, like a knee brace, and my hip was playing up and a knee was playing up at the same time, and I couldn't get down these steps because those steps over there are huge. Going up them is okay, but coming down. But I took things easy. There was lots of slopes in Cusco, and there's lots of steps at the ruins, and I was doing 20,000 steps a day. But I did it, and the feeling was amazing when I stood on Machu Picchu, because that had been on my bucket list for years, ever since I was a child. So I hope this encourages you, because it's one small step can lead to crossing off your bucket list. One small step that I said yes to, giving myself permission to go to one yoga retreat all those years ago, has now led me to get to Machu Picchu, and I am so thrilled and pleased with myself for doing that. And I encourage you, if you are wanting to do something like this too, give yourself permission. Till next time.